Hey, 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 hey. Welcome, welcome. I have not been on live on YouTube or on Facebook in a really long time, but I might be spinning the block on y'all, at least for the 12 days of financial self-care. So hopefully y'all are still awake. It is 9:30. I'm sleepy. I'm way past my energy time. I won't say my bedtime, but I'm not a night person. I normally don't have energy in the evening time. So usually I'm ready to go to bed. I'm yeah. I've already done 2 lives today. This will be my third and last live of the night. I'm tired, but I'm out here because it is 12 days of financial self-care. And we are talking about money boundaries tonight. So if you need to have this conversation, do me a favor and share the live. Do me a favor and share the live. We are going to get started in just a couple of seconds. I want to give y'all some more time to come on into the room, have some conversation with me. What are y'all doing tonight? What are y'all watching on TV right now? I'm so sleepy, y'all. I'm so sleepy. Thank y'all for jumping in here. We are not going to be before you very long. I sound like a Baptist minister. And I'm not lying to you like a minister about we gonna close up soon and then you still be in church at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I promise you, this is my third live. I'm tired and I'm not gonna be before you long. I'm gonna do my best to power through these tips. So get your notebook out, get your pen out. I'm sharing them for free for the next 12 days. This is going to be inside of my coaching program, inside of my coaching workbook, which will not be free. But this week, you are getting all of it, everything for free. You are getting the opportunity to not only learn some of these techniques, but also to Q&A me. So if you got questions, this is the best time to ask them right now in these lives. And it's going to be building over the next couple of days. So get into it. Get into it. We are going to be talking about financial boundaries. Join the live. Please share the live. All right. For those of you guys who are new to me and have never joined my page before, do not know who I am, which is kind of weird if you're on Facebook because we should be Facebook friends. And by now you have got to know my half righteous self. But if you're on YouTube, you may very well really not know who I am. So I will introduce myself to you. I am ADHD Money Coach B. I talk about mental health as it relates to your money. I help neurodivergent women, specifically the 4 times exceptional gifted Black women, shift from feeling financially frustrated to feeling financially unfuckwittable. My goal for you over the next 12 days, during the 12 days of financial self-care, is to help you go into the year feeling a lot less stressed than you have been in the previous years. I want to help you figure out what tools, processes, systems, mindsets, thoughts that you need to have into place in order for you to stop self-sabotaging, in order for you to feel a lot more comfortable. I'm not going to sell you false hopes and dreams that at the end of 12 days, magically all your financial problems will be solved and all your stress will be gone, because that's not true. It ain't get here overnight. It ain't gonna go away overnight, but one baby step at a time, and you will be feeling better and better every single day. You will get better every day with what you're doing with your money, but you gotta stay consistent. You gotta stay committed. Okay, showing up here to these lives is how you can start by doing that. So do me a favor, if this is already helping you, share the live, tag a friend. Do me a favor and share the live and tag a friend. And I just want to make sure that y'all can actually see this. Make sure the algorithm is doing what the algorithm is supposed to be doing. Okay. Let me make sure. Okay. So we're going to get started. I'm not going to hold y'all up no more. Guys, first of all, do you guys know what money boundaries even are. And if you do, based on your definition of what a money boundary is, I would like to know in the comments if you are actually exercising money boundaries. Are you applying money boundaries in your life? How regularly are you enforcing them? Is it sometimes? Is it like, yes, all the time, girl? Give me an A. If it's like, I mean, sometimes, but it's hard. Give me a B. And if you're like, girl, not really, but I want to, give me a C. Drop it in the comments for me. How are you currently doing with boundaries? So, first of all, the thing I want you to know about boundaries is not rejection. It's not being mean. It's not selfish. It is love in action. Woo! Does that feel crazy? It is love in action. It is a form of self-love. And it's not even just a form of self-love. It's also a form of love for the other person, because boundaries help protect your relationship. Because you know that if they violate a boundary, it's going to make you feel more resentful. It's going to make you feel more frustrated with them. It's going to potentially sour a relationship that doesn't have to sour. Boundaries are a form of love. It is not something mean that you're doing. It is not you rejecting somebody. Boundaries are a form of love, and it's not just a form of love for you. It is absolutely a form of self-love, but it's also a form of love for the person that you're establishing a boundary with, because you know if they cross that boundary, the relationship gonna get dicey. Okay? So I want to know from you guys, are you actually honoring your boundaries? Do you have boundaries around your finances? Do you even know what that should look like? If you think you know what boundaries are financially, and you think that you're exercising them, what I want to know from you is how often you're exercising them. Do me a favor in the comments and write an A if you exercise boundaries all the time. A B if you're like, I exercise them, but it's hard. It's hard for me to honor those boundaries. 3 if you're like, not really. Not really. Okay. So what are boundaries? Again, they are love in action. Here's what boundaries should do for you. When I say boundaries, here's what I mean. A boundary is supposed to help you honor your values. It's supposed to do 3 things: honor your values, protect your energy, and they help you build the life you love. Let me help you understand why that is. A boundary helps you honor your values. Your values are things you say you care about. So if you're saying, listen, I care about this, you cannot cross this line, this is too important to me, that's a boundary that is protecting and allowing me to honor my value. Okay, that's one area where boundaries are. Another area where boundaries are is they're protecting your energy. You're saying, if I cross over this boundary, I am going to be depleting too much energy in a way I don't want to, in a way that's not healthy for me. So that might look like crossing from peace to stress. So if I give you this money and this is causing me to not sleep at night, I'm not protecting my energy. This is going to make me mad. If this is going to make me stressed, this is going to make me resentful, if it's going to make me frustrated, it's costing me too much emotionally. It's costing me too much energetically. And therefore a boundary needs to go there because I can't afford to lose that. A boundary should help you build the life you deserve, meaning it's protecting you from depleting resources that's needed in order for you to build a life you want. So financially, that could look like not depleting your assets so that you got money to save, money to invest, so that you're not overdrawing your account, right? A boundary is to help you protect your energy, honor your values, and build the life you deserve, okay? If that's hitting home for you already, put a heart in the comments. Put a heart in the comment if you are understanding where boundaries need to be and why you need to have them. Because I know a lot of us feel really guilty about establishing boundaries, about telling people no where there needs to be no's. And I want you to understand why this is important. It's important for your life, but it's also important for your relationship with them. Okay. So now that we understand what boundaries are and why we need them in our life, I want you guys to take a couple of minutes to figure out how to know where specifically in your life you might need a boundary. Okay. Because the reason why I asked you about like how frequently you do them or what do boundaries even mean to you is because you may be really great at establishing a boundary in one area of your financial life, but not in another, or one area of your personal life, but not in your financial life. Or maybe you're doing them in your financial life, but not in another life, which will eventually spin the block on your financial life. I promise you, there isn't anything that's really disconnected from your finances. Okay, so here's how you will be able to determine. These are some prompts that you guys can do tonight, because remember, every night is going to be actionable. I want you guys to be able to take something home and be able to look at it and figure out, what can I do differently so that I'm not experiencing this anymore. So you're just taking baby steps each and every day to build a less stressful life. So tonight, what we're going to do is, you've already are super clear on what a boundary is and why we need them. For the rest of the night, I'm going to have you complete some prompts, write them down so that you guys can do them tonight. You're not going to answer them with me live. You're welcome to, but you don't have to. This is for you to do in your journal later on, so that way you have space to have awareness of how you're thinking and feeling, so that you know where a boundary might need to be. I'm also going to have you work through some scripts so that you know how to have the conversations you need to have around those boundaries. And then the last thing that I'm going to do is help you understand what systems you need to put into place. And so those boundaries are things that you will always honor. Okay, so let's start with the reflection prompts. Again, the point of this activity is to help you build awareness of where you might need boundaries. About 85% of our thoughts and our behaviors are happening subconsciously. We don't even know we're doing them, thinking them, feeling them. And so you can't change something that you don't know is happening. Okay. So the goal for this is for you to be able to be aware of how I'm feeling around something, so you can go, oh my God, I think I need a boundary there, because this clearly is not working for me. So here are the 3 questions I want you to write down. Where do you feel resentful about money? That's question number 1. When you think about situations, what makes you feel a way? What puts you in your feelings? When it happens, it just makes you like, it just don't rub you right, or makes you feel annoyed or frustrated or mad or sad, or where is discomfort? Where are you feeling resentful about money? Like you wish it wasn't this way. Number 2, what situations keep you feeling undervalued? This is a really good question, because it helps you understand that boundaries might not be just boundaries with yourself or with a loved one. It could be at work. Most of the time when people are feeling like undervalued financially, it's probably in the workplace. Their boss is asking them to do a job that they're not paying them for, or they keep getting passed over for a raise and they don't feel very valued in the workplace. That might be an area where you need to establish a boundary. Okay. But this can also apply in other parts of your life. It could be in your relationship that you're not feeling valued. It could be in a lot of different places where you're not feeling your value. As a business owner, you might feel like you're not getting value. As a customer, you might feel like you're not getting the value that you need from someone you're doing business with. The third prompt that I want you to write down to help you have more awareness of where you might need financial boundaries is, which boundary keeps getting crossed? Meaning, maybe in the other ones, you weren't quite really sure. There may be some areas where you know you have attempted to communicate a boundary and it keeps getting violated. I want you to have awareness of that as well. So I'm going to repeat those 3 questions so you can write them down. This is your homework. You're not doing this live with me. You can put it in the comments if you want to, but this is meant for you to be able to do this between now and tomorrow when we get on the next topic. So the 3 questions were, where do you feel resentment about money? What situationships keep making you feel undervalued? And which boundaries keep getting crossed? Okay. All right. If you think that those questions are going to pull up big feelings for you, put some hearts in the comments for me. Let me know. If you already feel like it's bringing some stuff up for you, put some hearts in the comments for me. Okay. Next, for those of you guys who are just joining, we are diving into the Boundary Blueprint, my guide for protecting your peace and your pockets. We are talking about the 12 days of financial self-care. Every day builds on the previous day. We're talking about a different topic every single day, and will not be repeating the topic. So the only way that you guys can get this information is to show up live on time with your notepad and pens, because after this, my boundary is you got to pay for it. But for tonight and the next 11 days, you get to have it for free. So show up and show out. Okay, so you already got your prompts for how to build awareness around where you might need boundaries. The next thing is, like, once you have these awareness and you're clear on where you need boundaries, you're super clear on what boundaries need to happen. But now you need to have some uncomfortable conversations with people who are connected to these boundaries, and you don't know how to have these conversations. Now, if it is an issue with emotionally, mentally, you're not sure how to have these conversations, this is something that you can bring up with your counselor, your therapist, how to process these emotions and feelings, how to understand what's going on, how to regulate your body so that it's easier for you emotionally to have them. But if you're beyond that point and it's like, I'm okay with saying it, I know I need to say it, I just don't have the language, and I want to make sure I'm saying it in the most effective way, because my goal is not to just reject somebody. My goal is not to just make them feel like I'm not interested, I don't care. I want to communicate the boundary in a way that expresses, I still love and I support you, and yet here is this boundary that I'm not going to allow anybody to cross. Not me, not you, not nobody. Okay. So I'm going to give you 2 examples of scenarios that would happen in your financial life, and 2 scripts that you can use to have that conversation that can at least kick off the conversation. So the first conversation is people who need to borrow money. All right. Whether or not they're asking to borrow money all the time or just one time, maybe you have the money to give, but you just don't want to give it because it's going to be setting you back on your financial goals. Like, it's not going to put you in a hardship, but it is going to set you back. Or you just are like, I'm not a lender, I don't want to do that. Or no, because I don't want it to cause friction in our relationship, I don't see this going well. Or no, because it is going to hurt me financially. Whatever your reason is, somebody is asking for money from you, and you need to set a boundary on giving it. And so this is how you can bring up that conversation. When somebody says, hey, can I borrow some money from you? And you're like, I need to put a boundary right here because, ma'am, no. You can say, and write this script down, I'm not able to lend money right now, but let's brainstorm other solutions. And here's why this script is powerful. First of all, you're not saying just no. You're saying yes, but not that way. You're saying, yes, I'll help you, but I can't help you in that way. I can help you this way. So you're telling them what you can do for them, right? And that leaves space for them to understand that I still support you. I care. I want to help you out of the situation, but this is not a way that I'm comfortable with or that I can afford to do. 2, it also gives you an opportunity to see how invested they were in solving their own problem. Because if you tell somebody, hey, I'm not able to lend you money right now, but let's brainstorm some other solutions, and they're like, never mind, whatever, right? And they don't want to even try to see if there were some other ways they could have resolved their issue that didn't require you coming out of your money out of your bank account, then they're not that invested. And that's a good observation, because why are you giving money away to somebody who's not even trying to resolve their solutions themselves, except to look for a quick fix, which is for you to pay for it? So if they're not willing to take that help and say, sure, I'll take that help. Now, there's nothing wrong with them continuing to find a fast solution, because depending on what their scenario is, it may require some expedience, but they should not be turning you down for other ways to solve a solution. And if they are, that should give you peace with your no. Okay? So that's script number 1. When somebody wants to borrow some money and your answer is no, whether because financially you can't afford it, it's going to set you back, or just because you just don't want to lend the money because you don't want to, that's a great way to start up that conversation. I'll give you the script again so you can write it down. I'm not able to lend money right now, but let's brainstorm other solutions. Okay. If that was good, drop a heart in the comments. If you like that script for that boundary of, can I borrow something? Can I have $20? Okay. The next scenario that I'm going to give you a script for, I'm going to give you 2 scenarios. The workbook that's coming out next year is going to have well over like 20 different uncomfortable, awkward financial conversation scenarios that I'll give you scripts to as well. But I wanted to give you like a couple of examples to use because this is probably coming up this year. So the next one is when you have a scenario when you have divided expenses and you're feeling like it's not, something about the scenario makes me feel uncomfortable, makes me feel unfair. Remember earlier in the live today, I told you to write down the financial scenarios that make you feel a little bit of resentment. So you might be feeling a bit resentment with how expenses are being split. This can come up in a scenario with, let's say, a husband and wife shared household expenses. It could come up in a scenario where you're just cohabitating, which does not have to be romantic. It could be a roommate situation. It could be co-parenting. Y'all don't live together. Y'all not together at all, but y'all got a child that y'all splitting expenses with. It could be a business arrangement. It could be 2 bridesmaids splitting the bill for a bachelorette party, right? It could be y'all at a restaurant splitting the check. The point is there is some expenses that you don't feel comfortable with how things are being divided, and you need to have that conversation or revisit the conversation because maybe you didn't have it to begin with, so that you are in a place that feels a lot better for you. So this is how you would start that conversation. Write this down. Write this script down. All right, grab your pen and paper. I want to revisit how we're dividing expenses to make sure it feels fair for both of us. I'm going to say it again. I want to revisit how we're dividing expenses to make sure it feels fair to both of us. Here's why this language works. First of all, it's expressing a desire, not a command. And for some people who are going to push back at telling me what to do, it will be received a little bit better because you're just saying, I want to revisit, right? Another reason why this works is how we are dividing expenses. Notice the language. You're saying we are dividing expenses, meaning I anticipate both of us contributing to whatever this cost is, but I'd like to revisit it. To make sure it feels fair to both of us. This part of the conversation language helps because it communicates that I'm not just looking for me to get out of contributing. I'm looking for both of us to feel like it's fair. And it's also communicating that you currently don't feel like it's fair, which is important for you to say. You need to be able to say, hey, this doesn't really feel fair to me. But if you just started off like that, it may not be received well. So I love the language in this script because it says all the important details in a way that can be received more comfortably. So I want to revisit how we're dividing expenses to make sure it feels fair to both of us. And that allows you to go through the talking points from there, okay? Guys, if you try any of these scripts and you get to a part where it's awkward, I want you to write down what was awkward about it. I want you to write down what your feelings were around it because those are areas you're still trying to work through. You want to understand, is the issue where you got bumped up against continuing to communicate this boundary, was it an emotional, mental fit block? Was it like I was in my head and I was worried about what they would say and I didn't want to, you want to figure out, is the issue communicating this boundary in your mind and in your heart? Or is the issue, thank you for the like, I appreciate that, is the issue in your language? Like you are good with how you feel and what you think, like you don't have any blocks about if you should communicate it and why it's important. You're not afraid to communicate it, but you don't know the words to say. I want you to figure out, is it the language or is it a mindset, emotional thing? Okay, that's going to be helpful because it's going to take practice. Communication takes work. Language is something that we're still learning to communicate. We're still learning to express how we feel about ourselves to ourselves, much less to other people. When you're dealing with other people, you're dealing with different types of personalities. So when you communicate a boundary with your husband, it will look completely different than when you communicate a boundary with your child. It'll look completely different than when you communicate a financial boundary with your sister. But the important thing is that you're becoming more aware of where the boundaries are needed, how it's making you feel, because that's a clue of where boundaries are needed, What types of conversations will effectively communicate that boundary to that person? And then you're assessing that to see, did this work out well, or does this need to be tweaked a little bit more? What do I need to change? You're refining that so that you're getting better at communicating boundaries. Communicating boundaries is like a muscle. It takes practice. You got to keep doing it, and you get easier and stronger, and you feel a lot less grief around it because you're seeing it as an act of love as opposed to an act of rejection. Okay, last thing, and then I'm gonna wrap up the live, is you've gotten to a point. Thank you, Keisha. Thank you for sharing. I appreciate you. You've gotten to a point where you know what your boundaries, you know where you need your boundaries, and you have the language to communicate them, right? And so you've got great intentions. You're like, okay, I know I need boundaries around this area. I know what I'm gonna say, and I feel really good. Now, the last piece is honoring your boundaries. And here's the thing, boundaries are for you, not for someone else. You can communicate a boundary, but it's up to you to honor that boundary and say, hey, this is the line, and this is what I'm going to do if this happens. But the problem is our good intentions don't always result in the action. Okay. And I'm going to help you understand why. So the last thing that you're going to do tonight is you're going to figure out what systems you need to put in place to make sure you are always standing on business with those boundaries. Okay. Systems. And here's why that matters. Your boundary, your word is a boundary, okay? But your system is like a gatekeeper. So imagine if you say, this is a boundary, and you say, listen, you can't cross this line because this will disrupt my peace. I'm not going to spend over this amount because this will disrupt my peace. You can't borrow more than this amount, or you can't borrow at all, or whatever. This is the boundary. You set it with your mouth. You set an intention. That's a cute little imaginary line. A system is erecting a gate. And here's why that matters. If there's a gate there, that means that they have to bump up against to something. They can't just cross it without bumping into an obstacle. It requires way more work for them to bypass that boundary and violate your boundary. It also requires more work for you to violate that boundary. You can't even violate your boundary easily. So a system protects your boundaries that you say you want. And I know you're probably thinking like, well, I got good intentions. I don't need to do all of that. Okay. Well, for the ADHD community, sometimes we set in good intentions and we go, you know what? I'm not going to do X, Y, Z. And then ADHD brain, we forget. And now we violated a boundary, not because we weren't committed, not because we didn't want to, not because we were afraid to, but because we quite literally just forgot. Point blank, period. Very simple. So a system would protect you from memory. A system will protect you from the emotional, mental obstacle. Like if you're in a place where mentally, emotionally, you like, know I need a boundary, but you're like, gosh, they're going to be upset with me, or maybe they'll abandon me or leave me. They won't be my friend anymore. They won't feel like I don't love them, or whatever it is. You're doing all this mind drama, or maybe I'll get fired, or I won't get a raise, or whatever it is that you need to communicate a boundary, and you're telling yourself all this stuff mentally, emotionally, and it's keeping you from taking action. You could have good intentions to say, this is my boundary, but if you haven't gotten past that mental, emotional hurdle yet, you're not going to do the action. So you need to set up a system so that even when you're feeling that way, stuff still happens, okay? The third reason why you might not honor your boundary, despite your good intentions, is because you still are on autopilot. Your brain is on autopilot. Like 85% of the things we think and do are happening without us even consciously choosing to do it. We're just on autopilot. So until your habits evolve and you strengthen new habits that are on autopilot for the right things, you need to have systems in place to do what you want to do when your autopilot is trying to do something different. So here's what some systems would look like. Budgeting, for example, a system that would honor a boundary, a financial boundary, would be automation. So if you have your bills automated where part of your money goes into your checking and part of your money goes into your savings, right? You've created a system, a boundary with your money. You're saying, hey, money, you're going to do this for me, and this money, you're going to do that for me. And you're not allowed to touch that money. That's a boundary. That's a system. Whereas if you put it all in one bucket, The only boundary that's there is in your mind. You're saying, I'm only going to spend X amount of dollars, which is great. I have high hopes for you. I hope you honor that boundary. However, it's a whole lot easier to honor that boundary when the money's separated. So the system of separating makes it easier for you to honor the boundary of, I only want to spend X amount of dollars on spending. Does that make sense to you? Does that make sense? That boundary is to help you honor your intention. The intention is still there. It still requires you to honor it. I mean, you could absolutely violate it and transfer the money right on back. But having that system in place makes it so much easier for you to be like, oh yeah, this is the X amount of dollars I have for spending. And then you honored it. Another example of a system that will help you honor a boundary is calendar blocks of time. So you might block off, this is my time for budgeting. This is my time for administrative work. This is my time for self-care. As a financial coach, I have my time blocked off for certain activities, and nobody can book me during certain days of the week, and nobody can book me during certain times. And I don't allow people to just call me anytime to schedule an appointment on any day of the week. They can't just be like, hey, can I book with you on Sunday? I send them a scheduling link because it helps honor my boundary. Because if they were to just ask me, hey, Coach B, can I see you on Sunday at 2:00? It's my only availability. My bleeding heart is going to be like, oh, okay, I will, because I'm going to want to do it. I'm going to want to help. And that's going to be me violating my own self-care, quality, family time boundary. To make it easier for me to honor my boundary and harder for me to violate it, I have a system. I send them the link. They look at the link. They don't see that available. They don't even ask. They simply book the next time they're free and I'm free at the same time. Okay, so that's a system I have for honoring my time boundary. And while time doesn't seem like it's related to your money, we all know time is money. It connects to your finances. So boundaries are important in every area of your life because it's going to affect your finances. Even though this is a financial conversation, I'm telling you, boundaries in your life will affect your finances. The lack of boundaries I had in my romantic life affected my finances because it affected my stress level. And my stress level made it so that I couldn't focus at work. It made it so I wasn't making good decisions because I was shutting down and I was depressed and I was sad. So even though the boundaries I needed in my life ain't have shit to do with my money, it eventually had shit to do with my money. Okay? We on the same page? Boundaries. You need boundaries, bitch. I don't know if you saw my video the other day where I talked about that. I mean, earlier today, but yeah, you need boundaries. I said what I said. Okay. Last example of systems with boundaries is removing cards from apps that you want to set a boundary on spending. So for example, let's say you're like, I don't want to spend, I'm going crazy on Amazon. I need to set a boundary for myself, or I need to set a boundary for my child or whoever on spending. I am going to remove the saved cards. That's going to be my system so that I can't override my decision to not overspend. So what'll happen is, like, let's say you're like, I'm only going to spend $50 a month on Amazon. I'm going to put a prepaid card on there that I will preload with $50 a month on there. And then I'm going to remove all my other cards to reduce the temptation of overriding that boundary when it's just $20 over. You're like, it's just a little bit. I'll use my other card. Removing your other cards is a system to help you honor your boundary with yourself. It's a system that helps your kids from violating the boundaries that you set for them. Setting spending limits at your bank and saying, hey, alert me when I hit this dollar amount. That's a way of setting a boundary on your spending. So these are just a couple of examples of systems that you can put into place that will help you honor your boundary. I encourage you, as you do this activity and look at the reflection prompts and think about where your feelings are coming up and where you might need boundaries. As you're thinking about the scripts and conversations you need to have with the people to exercise those boundaries, I want you to think about what systems will help you honor them even more, to make them feel even more firm. I hope that this conversation was helpful. I hope that you feel more empowered to set financial boundaries in your life. I hope that you understand that financial boundaries are not a way of saying no, but a way of saying yes, a way of saying, hey, I want to be the best version of myself for you. And the best way that I can do that is to make sure that I am at peace with every decision that I make. So when my no is a no, it is yes, that I love you. I'm saying no because if I say yes to this, it will hurt me and it will eventually hurt our relationship. Financial boundaries are for you and they're for the people you're giving them to. I encourage you to honor your financial boundaries. Go into the new year committed to say, me first. Nope. Bitch, I'm budgeting. Nope. My goals matter. I'm important too. I'm at the top of my to-do list. You matter, but I got to put my mask on first. I encourage you to honor your boundaries. You deserve to have them. You work really hard. It's important to you. And there are so many ways that you can support other people who are in need without you sabotaging your own hard work, goals, process, peace of mind, time, energy, joy. Okay? That's it. I'll see y'all tomorrow for day 2 of the 12 days of financial self-care. We're going to be talking about building your peace of mind fund. We're going to talk about why that's important to financial self-care. And I love you guys for joining in and engaging in the conversation. I hope you guys join me tomorrow. I'm not sure what platform I'll be on tomorrow, but wherever y'all most engaged is where I'm going to show up. So if y'all show up in here with y'all notes, y'all leaving comments in Facebook, I'll be on Facebook. If y'all show up on YouTube leaving comments, I'll leave some comments there. I'll show up on YouTube. If you show up on TikTok, that's where I'll be. If you show up on IG, that's where I'll be. I will see y'all tomorrow.